Hello and welcome to Aurora 4X. So this game has sort of been exploding online recently. I took a look at it and have really enjoyed it and thought, what better than to play this for a while and start something up with this. So, not the best start, but we're going to go with it. We are playing as the Terran Interstellar Conglomerate. We will be right now we're just trying to get the technology to start getting off the ground. We're gonna try and play more as a with the interest in expanding economy over just getting extra territory for no apparent reason or over exploration or whatever. We're gonna try and get a strong economy and possibly build a strong military off of that, but not quite sure there yet. We'll see what doctrine we'll use once we actually get a look at what's around us. It's actually not half bad for a starting place, but I'd like another bonus if I can get it. Here's some research bonuses there. We can get a mining bonus, or factory production and shipbuilding, but we can get more factory production from this guy. How about we go with this guy, just for now. I mean, he is our highest ranking guy, so I guess it makes sense, sort of, but not entirely. In terms of naval officers, we need to assign someone to Fleet Command. Oh, that's right, I am using the fantasy name set, so all my ships are going to be named after mythological beasts, which also means that my naval officers are given titles of royalty, which is interesting. Not sure if it fits too well, but sure, we'll go with it. We'll start with this. Getting factory productions and survey bonuses is very good. So we'll assign this guy, and we will automate assignments on everything else. We don't need to assign individuals to all the different tasks that we have. That's just a bit ridiculous, and I don't believe there's anything in these to deal with right now. Yeah, nothing there. So we have that. We have our research set to Trans-Newtonian technologies, which will give us everything we need to start going into space. And our first ship, of course, will be a survey vessel, a geological survey vessel. Shipyards, I'm going to run a ship size style that I saw recently, where you have ships as or the size of your ships as a multiple of the engine size, and use full-size engines. So the first ships are going to be destroyer size, which are 7,500 tons. So I'm going to make my military shipyard that large, and although the geological survey vessel may not end up being that large, having the shipyard there already will be good. Now, in my previous game, I played a fighter doctrine, which I rather liked, so I might stick with that a bit, but I'm probably going to do the smart thing and... Oh, fuel production. Yeah, I want to stop that now, because we have way too much being produced, and we don't have enough soaring coming up. In terms of industry, we've got a military academy building. Let's see where we are once that's done. And when does the Trans-Newtonian get done? 2020. So we're starting in 2016 rather than 2025, which is the usual start date. And based on the availability of resources, if we have a ton of vendorite, then I'll probably invest in fighter tactics over anything else. But I might do missiles, I might do something else, who knows. So now we're approaching the end of the military academy. There we go, military academy is built. Whoops, didn't want to bring that up. And we will go ahead and use the extra time to construct some financial centers, just to get some extra cash flowing through. We'll get 10, yeah, that sounds alright. And we can follow that up with... or 5, sorry, not 10, what am I talking about? That won't even take half the year. Let's get some infrastructure pre-built as well. As soon as that ends, though, we need to start, or as soon as our research ends, we need to start producing our, we need to start converting industry and all that. so we can actually be prepared for the next sort of step. If we modify the infrastructure order, February or December 2019. Alright, so let's say 900? Is that actually the it's so close to the exact same day, but we'll go with that. So we'll produce 900, we'll have 900 infrastructure out on the field already, so we can move that as soon as we decide a location to settle in. I will not make the mistake of my first game of settling on Venus, because that was a silly idea. And any moment now. There we go. Transnewtonian technology has been researched. So the first thing I always research is I try and get to nuclear pulse as quickly as possible, because I don't really like using the conventional or nuclear thermal engines. They're just not very good. But I tend to beeline the nuclear pulse, which gives enough propulsion. I also tend to get the 0.9 fuel consumption and the times 0.4 engine power modifier before I make my first vessel. So that's what we're going to do there. We're then going to go in here and we're going to convert 600 of our conventional industry using 60%. We're going to do that. We're going to then go to fuel refinery. We're going to make 10 using 1%, and we're going to make 390 mines using 39%. 1%. And move this up. There we go. That works. So these will all be running at the same time. It'll take 6 years, but that will get shorter as we create more construction and factories. Things will get faster. How's the shipyard going? We're still adding capacity until next year. And then I'll want to add another 1,500 capacity to it to get it to a destroyer-size shipyard. Now eventually we'll get ships we'll move our destroyer size up and put in a frigate size, but for now destroyers really is a better way to describe what they're going to serve as. They're going to be short-range vessels, but that's a ways in the future, so we're not going to focus too much on military doctrine in this episode. We're primarily going to work on, if I can click the right button, getting our economy well set up. So we need to get the shipyard built. We're going to start work on designing a geological survey vessel to go around the place. We'll probably make 2 of those and send them around. Alright, we've got pressurized water reactor, which means we go into power propulsion. So this guy still hasn't gotten a bonus, but this guy, oh wait, it was Alexander Little. So we have Charlie Moran now. We may have had it before and I just missed it, which is entirely likely. And we'll put him into research nuclear thermal engine, just so we can clear that out and move on to get the nuclear pulse. I think that's what we're really after here. And we will keep going. Actually, I should probably check how long we've got left. Alright, so it's now... What? So the time to finish this stuff has increased. Has my governor already died? That is entirely possible. No, he's alive. Naval officers and staff officers. No, person's assigned. Why in the world is it taking longer now? Did it say 2036 before and I just couldn't read? That's also possible. We'll add 500 tons to get it to a destroyer size. And we'll keep going. Alright, so we've got the full size. We're then going to add an extra slipway so that we can construct 2 geological survey vessels at once, which tends to be very effective. You can have 2 of them going around and speed up things, since you really are kind of limited at this point in terms of how much you can put on a ship, especially with armor sizes and all that. So these are just going to be really simple geological survey vessels. We're going to probably scrap them as soon as we finish the survey of the system. And there we go, nuclear thermal engines. So we get the pebble bed reactor, so we can get nuclear thermal engines, because I don't really want to bother with what we have now, which I can't remember the name of all of a sudden. And yeah, nuclear thermal. Yeah, that's the word. So yeah, it's getting shorter now. Alright, that makes sense. That makes more sense. And we keep going. it's fairly slow gameplay at this point. Well, I say slow, it's going by quickly, like 8 years have passed. Well, almost 8 years now. And any moment now we'll finish something. Well, that took long enough. Alright, Pebble Bed Reactor, which means now we can go into power propulsion, and we're not getting gas go fast reactor yet. We are not wasting our time on that, so we actually can use our ion engines, which is not immediately. We don't really have the research power to do that right now. We're gonna get that, we're gonna queue this and queue this, and then once all that is done, which will take a while, it'll probably be 2030 before we can build an engine. Or we're gonna get more labs any minute now. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna keep going, we're gonna finish converting all of our industry, and then we're gonna start producing research labs. And this is what I usually do, is I get a huge inflow of research labs, which lets me focus more on research, lets me not have to deal with using 5 labs. Yeah, we'll start it now with 40% of our industry, and then on the next cycle we'll shift it all up. So I'm going to start by adding 15 research labs. There we go, research labs using 40% of our capacity, our production rate. We're then going to go 5 days, because that's our minimum construction timer, and we're going to modify this to use 100%, because we just want to produce a ton of research labs right now. We don't really care about building other things at the moment, we just need to boost research. Once we get enough of those, I'm probably going to have someone working on... we're probably just going to keep adding them here so we can get this done quicker, because if we can just get the engines out quicker, then we can focus on other things earlier. We're probably going to start construction of our survey vessels before we get our first research rate upgrade, which will probably be 2035. I don't know, depends on how long the design phase takes. So we've got another research lab, so we keep adding it here until probably we're full on that. So our engine tech will be, well, the necessary engine tech will be done next year, or this year now. Another inactive research lab, so we're just going through assigning more research labs, and going through more, and assigning more research labs, and we just keep going. Because that's how we do things around here. Aha! So, whoops. Pardon me, I really need to figure out a better solution to hiding my taskbar. Alright, so we have an inactive research lab, we have completed nuclear pulse, we've still got minimum engine power down the line, and this will get done in a month or two. Well, 2. And... not. There we go. Minimum engine power modifier is now being researched, so add another lab there, and as soon as that's done, we will design our first engine. And we'll probably also start getting people researching other aspects of the ship. For example, we need sensors and fire control. We will start by getting geological survey sensors. We just need to put 5 labs on there, which means we can apportion more labs to something like logistics ground combat, removing that since we have no scientists in this specialization. And we will get a larger fuel tank, because I don't want to use a bunch of small fuel tanks for this, it's just going to be a time sink. But we will also take this time to design the engine. So, for those of you who haven't seen this game, you can change the design specs of all of your parts. So here I can make a full-size engine, which cuts the fuel consumption in half. That fuel consumption research cut my base fuel consumption down to 0.9 liters per engine power hour, and then I can reduce the engine power to greatly reduce the fuel consumption. So it'll go slower, but I'll use far less fuel. And because I'm using nuclear pulse engine tech, I get a 160 EP nuclear pulse engine. Because of its size and its engine power being below 0.5 times, I get its commercial, which means that the ship built out of it is also a commercial ship. which is important, and we will get to that as soon as I have everything to start building the ship. Now, because it's such a large engine, it's going to take a whole lot more research points to design. See, you have to then research the individual parts and everything. This is a great game, and for some reason that whole aspect of it made me think that. So here we go, another research lab. We keep assigning them. Yeah, we'll get the engine out quicker. Wait, no, it's already gonna come out like in 2 ticks. Can we reduce that? Oh yeah, we can get it out in 1 tick. There we go, we have our engine. Do I want to start putting together the ship now? Let's not. Let's get everything else out, which will be in 3 ticks. Oh, inactive research labs, I forgot that I had extras on top of the 1. We'll keep going. And there we go. So, ship design. This is our first ship class. It is the Orc class. Not sure if it's the best name for a geological survey vessel. I'll just say that. So we choose geological survey vessel. Now this does nothing really. It just helps me distinguish the ships in the listing of all the different ships that I've got. We will go with a 72 deployment time. We're still using conventional armor, so we're using a ton of armor on this thing. But that's fine for now. We'll add on 3 geological survey sensors, and how far is our range? Let's go for that. That seems a bit excessive, though. Well, let's see. 16,000. If we remove a fuel storage, that's 222 billion kilometers. So Eris, the furthest body, is 14 billion. If I wanted to go to Eris, so the next furthest body, so from Earth to Eris, the next furthest, and then from there, the next furthest. We're still looking at like 39 million kilometers, which I'm gonna just not bother about that thing, it's fine. Yeah, that's fine. We can go with that. I might even check on an extra geological survey sensor, because if we get an extra one, it slightly reduces our speed, but makes us survey everything faster. Yeah, alright, conscript, so we don't have to deal with the morale on the ship. It is a 4,800 ton ship. We can build it easily in our destroyer yards. And is there anything else we need here? Looks all fine to me. Yeah, it looks great. What in the world is... Oh, right, that's what it does. I haven't used every button in here. I don't know why I haven't. Commercial only. I can't use ICBM fire and launch controls. Also, we're not starting with ICBMs because I don't want to bother. I'm gonna have combat ships before I actually need to bother with fighting, so I don't really care about having ICBMs. But, you know, maybe it's silly that I do that, and I should have ICBMs. Whatever. Alright, so we've got our geological survey vessel, and we will start production of that at our shipyard. So we will produce, or we will retool. You have to retool for every ship class, and has to, if you have a refit cost of less than 10% between 2 classes, you can build them at the same shipyard. So for example, once I get gravitational survey sensors, if I decide I want to, for some reason, make a gravitational survey vessel using the exact same template as this one, I could just build it automatically without having to retool, which is great. It's a fantastic little thing. And because it hasn't been tooled yet, it's an infant design. We're not going to bother naming the independent ships, I'll just have numbers. I might name a few ships later, but only if they're like ridiculously good and like they survive some ridiculous amount of damage. I don't know. Haven't thought too much about that aspect of it. Now, research. Ooh, not that, but that's also good for later. Construction and production. Do we have any scientists in this? Yes, we do, and he's not half bad. So we're going to start work on research rate. getting this buff now is going to help everything. We can start getting more on the field without any difficulty, and it'll mean that we can just research more, and that's great. Now, after we do that, I'm probably going to get construction rate, and we're probably going to cap at 20 research labs for now. I usually run at 30 to 40, but it's a bit early in the game for that, and I'd rather get some commercial shipyards on the field. Keep calling it the field. What in the world? Yeah, so we're going to get commercial shipyards to make sure that we are maximizing our ability to build freighters, which will be our next goal once we figure out where in the world we're gonna, not in the world, in the solar system, we're going to settle. And just to make sure, when are these done? 3 years, well, more like 2, but it's close enough. I'll get back to you when something interesting happens. Alright, so we've finished research right now. Just thought I'd give a quick update here because we're probably going to go right back to waiting for those ships to launch. So now that we have research rate, everything's seeming a whole lot easier to get, so we're going to get construction rate. And this guy's just getting some experience off of this, and once we do construction rate, I'll probably switch over to something else, although I'm actually going to queue mining production. So I'm going to do construction rate, then mining production, and then I'll go into probably logistics ground combat to get cargo handling systems, so we can... I'll just queue it up here. Give this guy lots of experience, because then we can get the we can load our freighters faster. So, back to the wait. And the survey vessels are complete, so we have 2 Orc-class geological survey vessels, or geological exploration vessels, or whatever GEV stands for. We will divide them, so now we have 2 task groups, the GEV Orc 1 and the GEV Orc 2. The Orc 1, we're then going to say, survey nearest planet or moon. We're going to focus on planets and moons for now. I don't care about asteroids at this point. However, once they're done, we can have it survey the next 5 system bodies. If fuel is less than, we'll go with 20%. We'll have it refuel at colony, and we don't care about supply points. It is a commercial vessel and does not require overhaul. Similarly, we're going to say planet or moon, next 5 system bodies. There should be an easier way to copy-paste orders, I just don't know it. And refuel at the nearest colony. So it has 5.1 grav survey points, and a lot of that is because we have a lot of survey bonuses in our fleet. Or in our command structure, or whatever. So these are going to head out, and they're going to start exploring the system around us. And we're likely going to look at Mars and Luna first. Venus will probably have minerals, but I'm not going to place it at a high priority, because it's a nightmare to deal with trying to get resources off of, because you have to use automated mines, and they're not that good. I also started construction of shipyards. I started building 2 commercial shipyards, so here's our first one, which we will rename automatically, French Burton, interesting name. We will start expanding it now. This will be for our freighters and our first colony ships. And also I'd like to check, what's our first shipping line? The Phillips Carrier Alliance. Good to know. So we'll keep going. I'll probably go to manually for now, see how quickly the GEVs get around. So first places we're exploring are Luna and Mercury. So we'll go 1 day. It's already exploring Luna, and it's basically at Mercury. Another day. Venus is now being explored. Let's see what's on Luna. I really ordinarily I'd wait until the inner system was all explored before I start looking at the planetary system data. This is a nightmare. Here we go. Whoops. So Luna has resources. And it's a ton of very, very useful resources, and we're colonizing it. We are having a lunar base, because, honestly, I am not passing that up. So, again, just to keep all of you... Oh yes, by the way, that is the Pinwheel Galaxy. It's a cool little galaxy. Not as cool as the Whirlpool Galaxy, but still cool. So, we have Luna here, and for those of you who haven't played before, Geranium is like, well, it's like in Star Trek, it's space steel, it's good for building everything. This here is the availability. On Earth, I have an availability of 0.9 for Geranium, which is really good. That means that for every unit of mining production, I get 9/10 of that, or I get 0.9 of the mineral. So, for example, I'd only get 4 neutronium for every 10 mining production, but I'd get 9 uranium. Here, 0.8, that is really good. My last game, I had a very low availability of duranium on Venus, and that was basically my only source of duranium in system. This is great. Mercassium, building research labs. Vendorite, fighters. I'm leaning towards fighters now. So now we're going to wait and see what Earth has, which could be or what Earth has. We already know what Earth has. We're going to see what Mercury, Venus, and Mars have. And then we might stop it here for today. But we want to make sure that we've got a good selection of locations. So before I make freighters, I want to get the cargo handling system, but I also want to focus on queuing up. Well, I'm also going to queue up some more research labs because those are just great. And we're going to work towards ion drives, which means gas-cooled fast reactor. We're going to go probably get this as well and get 0.3 engine power. It'll make our ion engine slightly weaker, but we'll save so much fuel, even though we're not really going far, since we're actually setting up a lunar base, and I've never done that before. We'll go 5 days. They should be heading out of system after that. Alright, just double checking. Nope, that doesn't refresh it. We'll go a day. And another day. So it's heading to Ceres now, so it's going to our first dwarf planets. And there we go. We have Mars fully surveyed, and we can take a look at the inner planet's distribution of resources. Venus, yeah, see, this is more standard stuff. We get 0.1 uranium, 0.1 boronite, 0.4 vendorite, 0.1 uranium, 0.1 corundium. Really, the amount isn't as important because it's more about being able to produce the resources, and the only place that's really doing that for us is Luna. Now, this does present an interesting issue. If we have our only source of corundium right now, and corundium is very important. Corundium is for all beam weapons, well, mostly lasers, I believe. It is important for building mines, so in order to get corundium, you need corundium. And it's basically one of the more important resources in the game, right behind duranium. And as soon as Earth runs out, we're going to be in some serious trouble. So we need to hope that the outer system has more corundium, because I'm not going to make it on 0.1 corundium. However, Luna is still great, so we're going to use that a ton. It's going to be a bit more difficult to terraform than Mars, but that's fine, we can work with that. Crustal hydrosphere, not that that means anything, it's just there for decorative purposes. We're going to go 30 days. We're not going to stop there. I'd like to get a better idea of what's around the place. Alright, so we finished cargo handling system. And I'm not going to go for anything better than that right now, because that's just a waste of resources at the moment. We're going to get power and propulsion going, and we're going to queue up all of the relevant techs, except, of course, the ion engine, which we can't see yet. And I'm not going to build my first combat fleet on ion engines. Most people usually do, but I prefer to start on magnetoplasma, but I tend to play slower than most. I only launch my first ship on nuclear pulse, so... Granted, it's like way more dangerous to the environment than nuclear thermal, but who cares about the environment? We're going to space. Alright, let's see. We go another 30 days. We'll let it... As soon as we see them going to Saturn, I'll probably check what's going on in Jupiter. I'm gonna get carried away at this rate, and yeah, I'll probably make an excessively long episode. I'll get back to you once things actually get done. Alright, so Ion Drive Tech just finished. I've reassigned everyone to researching cryogenic transports. We're going to start working on getting the necessities for setting up transportation for colonies and all that. Which means we're also going to want to look into terraforming rate, because we're going to be able to terraform Mars to be a 100% livable environment. Saturn and Jupiter are just about done being surveyed, so we're going to load those up and take a look at them. Because we have ion drive now, we can create our engines, and we have basically everything else we need for design purposes. Jupiter has very available thorium. Thorium is necessary for fuel, which means we can set up a base over it to only produce fuel and just send it back and forth to Earth, which would give us some very good options. Some low availability neutronium and some low availability thorium, sort of mid availability. I'm going to be maintaining a number of spreadsheets and stuff, but I'll do that off camera, mostly just to keep track of resources, design ships, all that kind of stuff. Missiles, I might show that one. But it's looking right now like we take Luna, set up a base around Jupiter. We may settle on Callisto eventually, but I'm inclined to ignore it for now, because it's not really enough for me to be interested. Although there's potential there for quite a bit, the only real purpose I could see in settling there would be to terraform it, which would take a while because it has no atmosphere and is really cold, so we can add a ton of carbon dioxide. So yeah, terraforming it to get people on it, because we're not going to get many minerals out of that. But who knows, we might get a ton. It might build up over time, similar to, we're probably going to set up some mines on Venus, but we're going to mostly not pay attention to them. The only reason we're going there really is the Vendorite, which has some mid-availability, sort of. I'm going to define low availability as 0 to just under 0.4, so less than 0.4, mid to 0.4 to 0.79, and high from 0.8 up, I think is what I usually use. It might be 0.7 up is high. Yeah, that's it. So, right now, that's high availability for Duranium and Macassium. That's really good. We're going to use Luna. Vendorite, it's low availability, but added with the availability of Vendorite on Venus, we've got some decent availability in the system. However, Neutronium, we don't have much of. And Neutronium is also very important. It's like really close up there because it's important in constructing shipyards and expanding shipyards. We're going to quickly design the engines we need for our freighters. We're going to use full-size engines because why not? We're going to go engine power 0.3, fuel consumption 0.8. We don't have thermal reduction yet, and we're never going to use it on commercial ships. It's slightly more powerful than our previous engine tech. And fuel use per hour is at 3.55 liters, which means, yeah, looks good. Alright, 15 crew, wow. And we're actually going to steal a few from here to begin research on this engine, which won't take very long. In fact, I'm willing to say it's probably not going to take long at all, and I'm more than willing to remove a few people to try and, as long as we keep this under the 20th of May, we'll get it in the next tick. There we go, both of them will be done in one tick. And there we go. 180 EP commercial ion drive. I could have started researching something else. So we have the ion drive, logistics, ground combat. Do we need anything else from here? I tend to use very large fuel storage. And we'll hook up 28 people to that to start researching. It'll be done in a few months. Wow. And we will design our first freighter, which will be the Gargoyle class freighter. Freighter. Which sounds like a word. Weird. Well, it is a word. What am I on about? Alright, there we go. So, commercial ion drive. I am now going to obsolete the nuclear pulse engine because we're not really going to use it. We're going to put on a standard cargo hold, and we're going to reduce... See down here we have the load time. Now, I don't want to take absolute ages to load this thing. So I'm going to set it so it's a 5-hour load time. And it's not the largest ship in the world, or largest cargo hold in the world. It'll hold one facility. Eventually, we'll probably create larger ones with tons of engines and stuff. We're going to have more engines on this, of course, because that's some pathetic speed right there. I tend to hover around 6 or 8. So we're going to get more fuel as well, because, or will we? I expect by the time we're going out of system, we'll have new engine tech, and so we'll design a new freighter for that longer range purpose. So I am actually going to say this is good. We have a freighter. We'll add in small fuel storage. Yeah, we'll add in some. Well, we could just add in some regular fuel storages. There we go, exactly 50,000 tons, which is that large enough for our shipyards. It will be soon. So that will be our freighter. So we have a freighter, and we have to set that as conscript so that it's using civilian crews that don't have problems with morale. So that's a pretty good speed for a freighter. Now we're going to create another version, and this one's going to be slightly repurposed, and hopefully we can build them in the same shipyard. We're going to auto rename. This is the Griffin class colony ship. So this will use cryogenic transports, which have a weight of, or a size of 50, which means we fit in 10, like so. For some reason that's slightly over, and I'm not sure why. If I remove those, put in one cargo hold standard, it's fine. Okay, wait just a second. It's an investigation. So cargo hold standard brings our armor to 60.4. If we add in 10 cryogenics, 60.6. And we need more crew. That's what it is. We need more crew for the larger one. Alright. Whoops. Not what I meant to do. We will add that back in and add in a few basic fuel storages. There we go, 50,000 tons. What's the size? Alright. But can we go from the gargoyle? No. So we have to build the Griffin. We have to task it for the Griffin class, which is the same speed, except it holds a slightly less range, but not enough to matter in system. Except it's going to hold colonists rather than various resources and such that we want to transport in between systems. Speaking of resources, we're going to want mass drivers, but we can probably get to that next time. So yeah, things are looking good so far. Double checking our system. There we go. Luna has a ton of very useful resources. I say a ton, it's only 3, but they're 3 of the best, especially if we're going fighters. And we've got a good source of Sorium on Jupiter, we have a decent source of other things on various planets, and an alright source of Sorium on Saturn. So this is looking like a good start. This could go really well. I am optimistic. Cautiously optimistic, but optimistic nonetheless. So yeah. We'll keep expanding, we'll keep exploring. We're going to probably start shipping resources to the moon soon. Resources, by resources I mean infrastructure and terraforming installations. So not really resources, but if we start shipping things there, start setting up an outpost, start mining, we should be able to start shipping things back and getting a good setup right here for our future ship production. And that will be all for this episode. Until next time, goodbye.